We're going to jump into our FYI show this morning. Clinton School Superintendent Gary DeLacy with us. Want to make sure we get enough time to talk with Gary about all the list of topics he's brought in to discuss. And we'll start at the top of the list. Gary, of course, was at Look at the Count about a week ago. You had the Duke Slater event. Of course, you had Kirk Ferentz in town and Gary Dolphin and all the Hawkeye crew. If people aren't familiar, I guess maybe give us a history lesson. We call it the Duke Slater event. Why is this important, and why are the Clinton schools, I guess, really involved in this and promoting this Duke Slater event and Duke Slater scholarship?
So, Duke Slater is a graduate of Clinton High School, and if you take a look at what he accomplished in his time of breaking barriers, it's an amazing story. Was part of, I think, 2 of the Clinton mythical state championships back in those days. Went to the University of Iowa, was basically the only black athlete on, and was a 3-time All-American. Ended up going to the NFL, and again, the only African American to play at that time, and actually has just made it into the NFL Hall of Fame. That in itself would be amazing, but then you look at the second part of his career is he got his law degree from the University of Iowa, went into Chicago and Cook County, and was the first judge of his race in those areas, and had an outstanding career in that field in his adult life. So when you look at the barriers he had to overcome at that time, I can't think of a better role model for our current students than Duke Slater.
And that leads to, of course, if people are driven by, the statue will be up soon. It's all ready to go. Do you have a date for that the public can put on their calendar to view that?
Yeah, we believe that we'll get the statue. It will arrive here in Clinton sometime in July. We'll get it installed in August, and then our first home football game, September 6th. We're looking like halftime of the sophomore game, so around 6 o'clock. We'll have some kind of induction ceremony there in that pocket park that we've developed there on the corner at that point. And I think it'll be a great way, the start of the high school football season, tying that piece in. But the start of the school year, we'll have that statue up. And I think one of the big things is, I talked about this last week at the event, is it's not so much about the statue, but what it represents. And for our current students to represent that this was a teenager that went to Clinton High School, that had dreams and aspirations, had significant barriers in his way, but didn't allow that to achieve excellence. And I want that message sent to our current students.
And Gary quickly says, is there going to be some type of I guess an ongoing, even if it's a short class, 10-minute discussion with students from here forward? So even 5 years, 6, 7 years, 10 years down the road, the Duke Slater statue is there. Those students may not know the story of Duke Slater. Is there going to be something so each Clinton High School student, when they come into high school, get a lesson on Duke Slater?
Well, I certainly hope so. As I'm retiring, I'm not going to have as much of a say on that, but I would hope that, I do know that Teresa Schultz, the high school principal, she has really embraced the Hall of Honor, because that's kind of the premise of the Hall of Honor, is graduates of Clinton High School that have went on and done amazing things but serve as role models for our current students. So as we've had these people speak in front of our students the last couple of years, Teresa has done a very nice job of summarizing what she got out of that and what the students should get out of that. And I do think Teresa's really embraced the concept of these role models in front of our students, and to get our students to think a little bit bigger than they currently are.
Of course, and part of the Duke Slater work is a scholarship in his name that's being worked to get established. Donations, how do you get a scholarship established? What does it take? What can people do if they're familiar with this? And the Duke Slater story sounds I guess, appealing to them.
Yeah. So the committee really wanted to, beyond the statute, to be able to offer an annual scholarship in Duke's name. So part of the proceeds from the Ferentz event were going to the statue to meet NCAA regulations. But we do have, currently, we are selling bricks, which are right there on that pocket park. Those proceeds are going to go to the scholarship. And if you go on the dukeslater.com website, you can find them. You could also just reach out to me if you're more traditional and you want the paper, which you got in front of you there, Dave. I've got a stack of forms for people if they want to just stop in at the central admin building. I can certainly hand them one and they could fill it out right there. And the bricks come in 3 different sizes, anywhere from a 4x8 up to, I believe, a 12x12. So, and the sizes, and that way there's a way that you can send a message, have it on the pocket park, and support the scholarship.
And of course, if they just want to make a straight donation, don't want the brick, they can do that too. You'll take donations.
Yeah,
too.
We'll take donations as well. So, and like I said, we're really excited about this. And I will be honest. I think we've been behind the 8 ball in terms of recognizing the Duke Slater story. I think Neil Rosendahl, when he wrote that book a few years ago about his story, and then I'll be honest, Iowa naming the football field after Duke Slater, and I think that's kind of pushed us a little bit to say, geez, the University of Iowa's recognizing what an amazing story he has. I think the high school needs to be in step with that, and I think the statue and the scholarship will be 2 steps in the right direction.
Okay. We may have to take a break while a number of legislative issues, but let's start off on that, and then we'll. How about this? Of course, the AEA that made a lot of big news during the legislative session. They passed a bill. The governor signed it. Things are going into effect. What do you know as far as the impact? How's it going to work for the Clinton schools? And each school may have a little different impact as well.
Well, I would hope. What I'm getting from Mississippi Bend AEA is at least the bigger districts are making the commitment next year. 60% of the funds in ed services and media go to the districts, and we've committed that back to the AEA. It's going so fast, and for them to have some stability, we just felt like that was the right thing to do. As is, the AEA is struggling because of all the uncertainty to hold good people. They've lost a number of people already just given what's happened this legislative session and the uncertainty, and are you going to have a job next year or not going to have a job next year, or those kinds of things where that's one of my biggest fears is the AEA has always had an ability to attract some of the best people in the state, and I think that's going to be a lot tougher for them now to retain and attract really high quality staff given the uncertainty year to year to year. Am I going to have a job? And so, I can go write 4 or 5 names off the Mississippi Bend AEA. They're not going to be there next year.
And this turns into, and again, they didn't use the term fee for service, but that's kind of what it breaks down to. Clinton schools, command schools, DeWitt schools, Northeast are going to pay for these services a little differently than they have over the past years. How do you see that coming down? Again, I guess Wes Gold will have to deal with that more than you, but I mean, you've dealt with this and had those discussions. That's coming down the road.
Mm-hmm. I think the AEA does a great job in terms of what we get for the value that we get for what we pay. They really work on economy of scale, knowing that they are basically supporting 325 school districts across the state. They're able to do that, but now with this, like you say, pay fees for service here, there's going to be a lot more uncertainty in terms of that. And I think what school districts are going to find out is that if you go out to the private sector, it's going to cost more. And unfortunately, it might cost more from the AEA perspective too, because if we don't use the economy of scale and some do their own thing and then some stay with the AEA, it may become more expensive for all of us.
Jump into teacher pay. Again, as part of the AEA bill, there are some changes in teacher pay. I don't know, is that going to affect July 1? How's that shake out for attracting new and retaining teachers?
Well, unfortunately, it became part of the same bill, and it really should have been a standalone. But I think the reality is the AEA bill was not going to pass unless they attached the teacher pay as the carrot. We appreciate the additional money going into teacher pay, but there's only really two subsets of teachers that won. Beginning teachers that came in, and starting July 1st in the state of Iowa, a beginning teacher will start at $47,500. The following year, that'll move to $50,000. And then teachers with at least 12 years of teaching experience will make $60,000 starting this July 1st, and then $62,000 the following year. That sounds great in theory, but that leaves a lot of teachers without anything, to be honest with you. There was two subsets that benefited from that bill. It did create a lot of inequity, and I'll give you a couple examples. You can have that 12-year teacher that has their master's degree, so they went back, got their master's degree, is making $58,000. You have a teacher with 12 years that's making $51,000. Next year, they're both making $60,000. One's got a master's, one's got a BA. And there was no money to differentiate that from the state, so they just figured the money to get to $60,000, but all of a sudden that sends a message to teachers that, well, being a lifelong learner and investing in my own education isn't being valued by the state.
We've got more to talk about with Clinton School Superintendent Gary DeLacy, but first we got a break for our weather forecast brought to you by ServiceMaster.
Rain and a few thunderstorms will come back into our forecast picture for today. Showers this morning with some scattered storms this afternoon. Can't rule out some small hail and gusty winds with a stronger storm or two. Temperatures back in the mid to upper 70s. Skies quickly clear out tonight. We will drop back into the mid 50s. With your Storm Track 8 forecast, I'm meteorologist Andrew Stutzky.
67 degrees, warmed up just a bit. Still have those light southerly winds here in the area. Brought to you, our weather forecast brought to you this morning by ServiceMaster.
When disaster strikes, ServiceMaster at 215 4th Avenue South in Clinton is here to help. Here's owner Michael Armstrong.
We do a tremendous amount of disaster restorations. We deal with almost every single day.
Do you have regular business hours?
Yes, Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. The vast majority of our work is disaster. So 24-hour service. Whenever you need us, we'll be there to help you.
For water, fire, and smoke damage, mold remediation, and other specialty cleaning, call ServiceMaster of Clinton at 563-242-0724.
KRO Sports Now presents coverage of the Co-Ed State Track and Field Meet from Des Moines. Major sponsorships from the First Gateway Credit Union with locations in Comanche, Clinton, and DeWitt, Fulton, and Morrison, and serving the area for over 70 years, and by AgCraft Printwear, celebrating 50 years in 2024. From team uniforms and fan gear, web stores to work apparel and promotional products, trust AgCraft. We'll hear from Gary Detterman after this.
The right sale at the right time at the right prices. It's the Memorial Day sale on now at Clover Hills Appliance and Mattress Center. Get the lowest prices of the year on GE washers, dryers, refrigerators, ranges, and microwaves. Save on Speed Queen washers and dryers, Best Home Furnishings recliners, lift chairs, and save up to $500 on Sealy and Tempur-Pedic mattresses. Stop in today at Clover Hills Appliance and Mattress Center in Clinton and Sterling with better prices and better service than the big box stores. You can't go wrong.
Welcome back, everyone, to Drake Stadium in Des Moines. Things are underway, Class 2A and 3A. Kicking it off, we highlighted them in our last report. In this update, let's take a look at what we'll see in Classes 1A and 4A. Field events will get underway at 2, the running events at 2:40. And in Class 4A, we're going to see Cameron Sadler in the 3,000-meter run. That is a final. That will also be in Saturday's 1500. The 200-meter dash, that is a preliminary, and we'll see Kanijah Angel of the Clinton River Queen. And she and Quinn Nielsen will be back for the preliminary of the 100-meter dash. That is scheduled to go at around 6:30. And then the final event for us on the track will feature Claire Unke of the River Queen. She qualified in the 400-meter dash, and that is a final. We'll also see Courtney Kanaki of Cal Wheat in the 400. Of course, Cal Wheat last year, they were the state champions in Class 1A, and they did it with just 4 girls. But the most important piece of that, Noelle Steinis is now here competing for Tipton. Field events in 4A, we're going to see Ellie Lonergan, the sophomore for Clinton High. She qualified last year in that event as a freshman. Right now underway, Ty Stone of Comanche. He is in the long jump. His best right now, 18 feet, 8 3/4 inches. Colby Gray of Northeast also competing. He, however, has fouled on both of his attempts. Also underway, the shot put for the girls, Paige Irvine. She is in the second flight. They do flight these. There'll be 12 who will throw, and then the next 12 will throw. And then the top 8 will get 3 more throws, just like in the long jump, as they are now in the first flight, 12 competing there. The top 8 get the opportunity to advance for 3 more jumps. Our next update coming your way at 9:47 from Des Moines. Gary Detterman for KROS.
Finding that missing shin guard. Remembering whether it's a home or away game. Getting the right kid to the right playing field on the right day. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple so you can worry about more important things. Like not being that fan. Oh, come on, ref! That's simple human sense.
Call 563-242-5423 for Tim Hartsock or James Nye at Corbin's in Clinton.
Coverage from Des Moines with major sponsorships from Zirkelbaugh Home Appliance in downtown Clinton. May is Maytag month, and remember, you can always check zirkelbaugh.com, and by First Central State Bank. Strong roots for stronger communities, generation after generation. Following the local athletes since 1941. KROS FM 105.9 and AM 1340 and KROSradio.com. Of course, right in the middle of FYI, talking with Clinton School Superintendent Gary DeLacy, talking about a couple of legislative issues. A couple more we definitely want to talk quickly about. Armed teachers. The legislature passed a bill to allow school districts to allow teachers to carry guns. Again, I don't think the Clinton School Board's taken a stance on that yet, but what's the general idea of that, letting teachers carry guns?
Well, I think it's I'm going to be honest, the most economical way that the legislators think that we're providing school safety by allowing teachers with a stipend to carry a gun. And what they'll say is, well, we're not forcing teachers to do it. We're asking for volunteers. The board needs to approve it, so we're not forcing the school districts to do it. I'll be honest, personally, I think it's a bad idea. They're looking at when you're looking at a school shooting, that is less than 0.001% of all the events that could possibly happen at a school. And when I start looking at the 99.999% of things that could happen at a school, and a teacher is carrying a gun, I can think of a lot of bad things that could happen. And when I look at a school resource officer, they have weapons like a club, they have a taser, they have weapons of less deadly force, and they're trained to use that. Well, a teacher's not going to have that. They just have the gun. And I just worry about situations of, we expect teachers to break up a fight. If you have a fight, what happens if one of the kids happens to grab the gun during that fight? What happens if a couple kids plan to jump a teacher when they're not prepared to get a hold of the gun? I mean, I just think of all these bad things that could happen. And I also question whether our school insurance is actually going to cover us. And what I'm hearing right now from our insurance is we would not receive coverage. And without that, I think it becomes a dead issue. if we're not going to receive liability coverage for these events. I still believe that we need good guys with the guns, but I just believe they need to be trained officers. And so, but that, again, that's more expensive. But I also think the state's in good financial position. They should have an SRO in every school building, and the legislators have heard me say that over and over. But I know there's a cost to that.
I know insurance was one of the big issues. They included a deal where there's supposed to be limited liability. I'm not sure of the exact terms. You don't think that's going to work with the insurance companies, even though it's kind of in that bill?
Well, what I'm getting is no, it's not. They're not going to cover us. So, I see that. I've got it right here where they said that you're going to have limited liability and things like that. But the problem is it's only in those perfect situations. Like, okay, it was a school shooting, blah blah blah. When I talk about some of those other scenarios, then you're not going to get that coverage or
limited liability.
Limited liability, and then all of a sudden the school district is going to be on the hook. So like I said, I'm sure the way the legislators look at it is, well, we did we responded to school safety by allowing this. I just think it's a very poor solution that is probably going to create more problems than answers.
Also, chronic absenteeism. That's been a discussion for probably as long as maybe schools have been in existence. Legislatively, were there some changes there that you can maybe address that situation better than you could?
Well, it was passed in a bill, which was Senate File 2435. They talk about provisions. A lot of the provisions I'm looking at are things that we already do. So to me, I'm not sure it's a situation where it's going to change what we do or give us more tools in the toolbox to effectively address it. And that's what we really need. The tools we currently have, and I think we have a good working relationship with Mike Wolf and Kristen Samuelson now in trying to do that, but the process of doing it is so long and gated that, we have kids still missing 50, 60 days of school out of 180. Totally unacceptable. But bottom line is there's not enough teeth or consequences. And really, in a lot of these cases, it does fall on the parent. The parent, when you're talking an elementary child, I don't really think the elementary child is calling the shots to say, I'm not going to school, or they shouldn't be. The parents got to get them there, and they're not consistently doing that. And unfortunately, and this isn't just a Clinton thing. You look nationwide, this is a major narrative, particularly after the pandemic, that we just got a huge segment of families that are not consistently getting their kids to school.
Well, then, we'll move on before we get things done because we're going to run out of time. But construction update at Clinton High School. See, you've got some pictures here. They're using that, of course, the new academic wing. They're using that. The construction, you can't really see it from the road unless you go up behind on the hill. What's the update on, I guess, the portion of the building that they're working on now?
Yeah. So I gave you some pictures there, Dave, for you to look at, and I'll be publishing these tomorrow. I just took these earlier this week of where we're at. We're about 2/3 of the way through phase 2. And we're actually going to take the board through the building Monday, this upcoming Monday before the board meeting, so they can see it. We're projecting it's about 2/3 done right now. The classroom part, so the music classrooms and the CTE, which would be your auto, welding, woods, those classrooms are scheduled to be turned over to the district by August, so that we will actually get in there at the beginning of the school year. Between those classrooms is the theater. The theater probably won't be finished up until December, is what we're getting. But what that means is by being able to get those classrooms in August, we're going to be able to you will be doing asbestos abatement and start doing some demo of the shops building in the back. And then eventually in the fall, the front of the building. So those demos, which will then lead into the last phase 3, moving ahead. So we had a very good winter weather-wise, if you remember, that we had about 2.5 weeks in January where it was kind of rough. But other than that, we had a lot of good days. I still remember we had some days in February where it was in the 50s and 60s. We were pouring concrete. It was like, we're pouring concrete in February, but the weather allowed us to do that. And so I feel really excited. Now you really can walk through here and you can really visualize this is what it's going to look like. People are going to be amazed by this theater.
Like I say, I've seen some people talk about the final concert or final performance at Vernon Cook Theater, but if you don't get in until next December, you may have some things in the fall in the theater.
In the fall, it won't be in Cook Theater because it will be the power will be off and that. So if we're doing anything in the fall, we will probably have to do a few things like the old days in the gym or that, or does the fall play get pushed a little bit later until till the theater is ready? So, and we can always hope that maybe they'll go a little faster than we think, but realistically, I think November, December is probably when we're going to get the theater turned over to us.
And before we get done, of course, this is the last show, graduation coming up, and last day of school.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. People now are feeling pretty good about those virtual days that we installed this year. The state did allow us to use up to 5 virtual days for inclement weather. We used 3, and so we didn't call any days off in our district. So we're actually going to end our year as scheduled on the original calendar. So graduation is a week from Sunday, May 26th. I think seniors are done next Wednesday, May 22nd is their last day. And then the last day for all other students will be a week from today, next Thursday, or 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Don't get them out too quick.
I won't get them out too quick. 2 weeks from today, May 30th is the last day for all students, and that will be an early out day, being the last day of school.
And that'll wrap up the school year, and then I guess June says you'll have the month of June to pack up the office and move out?
Yeah, month of June, actually a lot of closure activities, believe it or not. All my evaluations of my administrators happen in June, so I go through that, and that's kind of a lengthy process with each one of my administrators. And yeah, when it gets down to that last week of June, I'm sure I'll be packing up and getting out of there so Wes can move in.
Thanks, Gary DeLacy, the Clinton School Superintendent, coming in today, and maybe next month you're thinking about bringing Wes in?
Yep, I've already talked to Wes. Our meeting in June, I'd bring him in as kind of our transition meeting.
Thanks for coming in, Gary.
Yep.